Have you ever worked so hard at something and put your best effort into it, just to find out people's views of it are belittling and degrading towards your work? According to U.S. District Judge Stefan Underhill, his views on the works of cheerleaders in their competitions are belittling and degrading enough. With his statement, he concludes his final views of cheer. Competitive cheer may sometime in the future qualify as a sport under Title IX. Today, however, the activity is still too underdeveloped and disorganized to be treated as a genuine varsity athletic participation for students. I believe the statement isn't true in all ways, and I am assessing how the quote is falsely stated. Because of the emotional, physical, and mental demands competitive cheerleading requires, it should be considered an authentic sport. Today I will discuss matters with you regarding cheerleading and why it should become a sport. The first thing we will go over are the two different types of cheerleading. The first type is traditional sideline. The purposes of traditional sideline is to cheer on your team, help up the crowd, and help your team win. The second type of cheerleading is called competitive cheer, and this type we will be focusing on today, which should be considered a sport. I would like to compare competitive cheerleading to the English language. English is considered the most difficult language to learn because it takes many words of other languages such as Spanish, Latin, and German, and puts it all together to create its own language. Cheerleading is the exact same way. Cheer takes talents and highlights from other sports and pulls it all into one, firing your team. Competitive cheer is a combination of gymnastics, acrobatics, dance, and weightlifting. Cheer also requires a lot of endurance, strength, and flexibility. To have endurance, you have to have endurance because the routine may last 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but it's the most grueling 2.5 minutes of your life. You need to have a lot of strength and be able to lift your teammate over your head and keep her there for long periods of time. You may also have to do some stunts which require you to throw her above your head, such as baskets and clay tosses. Lastly, you need to be very flexible on the team. There are some stunts that require your top girls to be able to contort their bodies into some very unnatural positions, such as a bow and arrow, a chin-chin, and a teardrop. Flexibility is also required for your tumbling section. And lastly, flexibility is required in your jumps, like a toe touch, pike, herky, or hurdler. Jumps are a big highlight to your routine, so if you don't stretch well enough for it, you might just pull a few hundred muscles. Over the past year and a half, there has been huge controversy over the competitive cheerleading. In March 2009, Winnipeg University decided it would eliminate its volleyball team and replace it with a competitive cheer team for budgetary purposes. The volleyball team took the university court and attempted to sue its school under Title IX ruling. Title IX ruling is made in 1972 for college and intercollegiate sports to provide an equal opportunity for men and women's athletics. Well, if you truly think about it, the university planned to cancel its women's varsity volleyball team and replace it with a women's competitive cheer team. In order to be a sport, there are some requirements that make your activity be officially considered under Title IX. It must have coaches, practices, a defined season, competitions, and a governing organization. Now, competitive cheerleading meets the requirements with each of these rules. The team has coaches, hold calendars filled with practices, and their defined season for competitive cheer is January through March, with practices that start as early as October. Lastly, we have a governing body, the Universal Cheerleaders Association, which holds camps and competitions throughout the year. Winnipeg University, along with 7 other colleges, have come together to form the National Cheer, Stunts, and Tumbling Association that also acts as the governing body. So if competitive cheerleading obeys every category in Title IX ruling, then why did Judge Stefan Underhill rule it not a sport? I believe it all has to do with politics. Doing my research on this issue, I have learned that if an activity is considered a sport, the team no longer has to pay for everything it earns, the taxpayers do. In all authentic sports, a little bit of taxpayer money goes towards them to help fund it. Football, volleyball, and basketball are all examples of this. Each of them has a school booster club that helps pay for their equipment, which can cost thousands of dollars. If cheerleading were a sport, it would cost more money would have to be divided to contribute to the funds of the cheerleading team. Because of this, the government is trying to do all it can to make sure cheerleading stays an activity. But if the government one day decides to rule cheerleading a sport, it would help save millions of families thousands of dollars. because cheerleading roughly costs around $1,000 per season per girl just to participate. So, if the government added a couple cents to each person's taxes, cheerleaders wouldn't have to pay for everything they own. Today we are discussing and analyze the different spectrum to this controversial subject. I revealed to you how much of a struggle cheerleading is mentally, physically, and emotionally, and financially. Hopefully you have a deeper understanding of what it takes to be a competitive cheerleader and how important it is for this activity to become a sport. The vast hardships and risks that cheerleaders take to participate in this club is beyond what words can express. The amount of hours spent, amount of money spent, and blood spilled just to have the honor of being a competitive cheer team is innumerable. For a team to work so hard at being number one and to donate their lives to their passion, why would you refrain from calling their work a sport? After all, what most sports doing during night sports games, we do in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.